Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila. You're at Alexandrian Archives. Welcome or welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. Today I have a video that I don't do really often just because it takes a lot of editing and a lot of to filming, but I've been wanting to do this for a while. So we are doing a tier ranking of all the books I remember reading in high school. The thing is, I didn't have a typical high school experience. So when we moved to Canada, I was 7 years old. I started in grade 2 because that's the grade that I would be going in September. We moved in August. So I went to an English school in grade 2. Then we moved to an apartment. We were living with family for a year. We moved to an apartment. I went to another English school for grade 3. In grade 4, I started French immersion at another school. So grade 4, 5, and 6 was all French immersion. So I learned French. And then we moved to this house. Unfortunately, there were no French immersion programs for grade 7. You only had the choice of French extended, regular English with core French classes, or full French school. So there was no in between for grade 7. I applied for the full French school. I did an interview, stuff like that. I did not get in, unfortunately. That's a whole other thing. I'm still a little salty about it, but whatever. I'm fine. No worries. So I ended up going into French Extended. French Extended is half French, half English. So from the beginning of the school day to lunch, it's French, and after lunch to the end of the school day, it is English. French immersion, by the way, I know I didn't explain it, was you have a French class in an English school. So your environment is fully in French, but outside of that classroom, it is in English. And full French is full French. Core French is one class per day or every few days of French, usually an hour, 75 minutes, something like that. So I have an interesting experience in terms of school. In grade 8, I tried out for the French Catholic high school, which my mom was like, okay, we can try it for the French public one or the French Catholic one. The only difference is for French Catholic, you have to wear a uniform. Okay, cool. At the time, I was obsessed with Harry Potter, so it kind of fit. I'd be like, wear a uniform like they do in Harry Potter. Woo! So I got in for grade 8 to the Catholic French school, and grade 8 to 12, because this was a 7 to 12 school, because we don't have middle schools in this area. It's just either going to be kindergarten, JK, to grade 8, and then 9 to 12 for high school, or it's JK to grade 6, and then 7 to 12 for high school. It depends on which system you're in. It's just the area that we're in. However, in Toronto, there are middle schools. Anyways, so grade 8 to 12 was fully French, and so that means that I read French books in French class. I also took French literature. These are not in order, I guess, that I want them to be in, so we'll just sort of be working our way backwards. I have to remember how to do this. It's recording. Okay, bless, it's recording. Okay, so the first book we have is Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. We had Shakespeare units in English class. I remember really, really enjoying this one. I thought it was a fun time. Please ignore the notification. I thought it was fantastic. I'm gonna put it in the A tier because I liked it, but it's not gonna be to the point where I'm gonna reread it every year. The next one is The Outsiders. I think this is a given. I think a lot of people read The Outsiders in grade 8. I read it in grade 8. I thought this was interesting. I thought, I don't know if I liked it exactly. I'm gonna put it in the middle tier. I thought it was good for what it was, but again, I was in grade 8 and I was very into fantasy. So, The next one is The Giver by, I can't really tell, but you know which one I'm talking about. This one I enjoyed. I remember enjoying, yeah, we'll just put it that. I remember liking it, and I did start the second book in the series, and that one I was just like, And then it's called like Gathering Blue or something. I thought the concept was interesting, of The Giver especially, and it definitely introduced me to this whole dystopia, utopia genre in sort of modern fiction and YA fiction. I did read Divergent beforehand and The Hunger Games, but I don't think it clicked as to what the genre was exactly until I'd read this book and we discussed it in class. The next one is another Shakespeare. As I said, we had Shakespeare units. So every year we read Shakespeare. Macbeth. This is my favorite Shakespeare play. I love it. It's the prophecies, it's the witches, it's the so good. It is so good. The next one is my least favorite Shakespeare play, which is Romeo and Juliet. We're gonna put this in the D category. The reason is, no, I'm not actually salty about it, but we were supposed to read another play by Shakespeare. This is in grade 9. We were supposed to read another play by Shakespeare. My friend Catherine, shout out to her, you've seen her on the channel. My friend Catherine was seen with a copy of Romeo and Juliet because she got really into Shakespeare, into his sonnets, into his plays and everything before we had started the Shakespeare unit. And my teacher was like, "Oh, Catherine, you're reading Romeo and Juliet? Okay, we're switching. We're switching gears. We're gonna be reading Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet for our Shakespeare unit." I forget which one we were supposed to read, but yeah, that's fine. The next one is Oedipus Rex by Sophocles. As a Greek mythology person, obviously I have to put it up there. It's not my favorite of the Greek plays. Not that I've read that many, but it's a good one. I like it. I like the whole prophecy thing, the whole Sphinx thing. You know, it's just, they were doomed from the start kind of thing. So yeah, it's a good time. The next one is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I'm gonna put this in B. It wasn't bad. Let me just switch around. It wasn't bad. I just don't think I had the emotional maturity to understand the depth of this book. It is a classic. But being forced to read in English class sort of puts down the experience of reading it on your own, because you're forced to read it and then you're forced to analyze it and you're forced to discuss in a circle, you know. Anyways, so I just don't think that I had the emotional maturity to really understand the depth of it. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's not that it's bad, it's not bad. It's a good book. But I just don't think I would, you know, I don't think I had the emotional maturity. Next one is The Crucible. This one we read in grade 10, I believe. Or yeah, I think it was grade 10. I don't remember. Anyways, this was interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of the whole Salem witch trials kind of thing. I thought it was interesting. I'm going to put it in the C tier because I don't know where else I would put it. I don't know. Anyways, the next one is Frankenstein. This is another case of, it was good, but I didn't have the emotional maturity to understand it. I didn't have the, honestly, intelligence to understand it, the depth of it. And I feel like if I read it today, if I went and started it and read it, I would absolutely love it. Because I'm a Greek mythology nerd, and this is called the Modern Prometheus? Yeah. And it's just like, you know, I just need to read it. I need to know. I need to know. Anyways, we continue. I do want to reread Frankenstein. So maybe later this year I will. So some of these books were not read in English class. They were read in my English literature class, which is a little bit different. So we went from the beginning of literally like written history, right? When people started writing stuff down, to sort of modern times. So one of the books that we read was The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. I thought it was fun. Thought it was interesting. We did have interesting discussions. I think I'm gonna put it in C tier. I remember not loving it. I thought it was interesting, but that era is not my area of expertise. I think this is roughly medieval. So it's not my area of expertise. I'm not particularly interested in medieval times. So we're gonna put it in C tier, although it was better than The Crucible. The next one is Wuthering Heights. This one we read in English class. I did not like it. I did not like it. I did not like it. None of the characters were likable. I did not like it. I can't really tell you anything else. Maybe I'll probably like other works by the Bronte sisters, but this one, I've got beef with it. The next one we read was Beowulf, which is an epic, an old English epic, I believe. And honestly, I had a fun time. We're gonna put it in B tier. It was fun. It was the epic unit in English literature. The next one is, I want to say that's Far from the Madding Crowd. I think it is. And I remember enjoying that, but not really being attached to any of the characters or the themes or stuff like that. Yeah. The next one is the Iliad and the Odyssey, obviously. This was for English literature, and obviously top tier. Duh. Yeah. So obviously I love both. I don't have a copy of the Iliad, unfortunately. I have like 4 copies of the Odyssey. It's crazy. The next one we read was King Lear, which was another Shakespeare one. I think I'm gonna put it above The Giver, I think, because I did enjoy it, but when we read it, it was when everything shut down and it was a mess. Like, my school was a mess. So I remember not entirely enjoying my experience of reading it, purely because it was like everything shut down, everything was closed, it was the pandemic, we were like running around like chickens with their heads cut off, you know. That is a very specific simile, but anyways, you know, we were just like running around blind and trying to figure things out, and it's always more awkward on like video calls, like Zoom calls. Oh, I hated that. It was awful. The next one we read was the Epic of Gilgamesh. This was actually the first text we read in English literature, and this is the first time I'd ever heard of it. I do want to reread it, that's for sure. I'm reading Inanna by Emily H. Wilson, which is a retelling about Gilgamesh and Inanna, also known as Ishtar, the goddess of love and war. And I remember enjoying it. I thought it was fantastic. I do want to get myself a copy, so I'm very excited for that. The next one we read was A Doll's House. I don't remember much about it, but I do remember it being interesting. I'm probably going to put it above The Giver, below King Lear. Excuse me. I don't remember much of it, but I do remember enjoying it. And then we also went to see like a play, like a continuation of this, and that I did not like. I did not think it was interesting. But yeah. One we read for grade 8, I believe, before we started Shakespeare, was Q for Treason. This is set during the time of Shakespeare. I remember enjoying it. I'm gonna put it here. Yeah. So, okay, so this is the French part. Anyways, so the next one is going to be L'Appel de l'Ange by Guillaume. So I've decided not to do it in French because I'm thinking in English, so we're gonna continue in English. So I remember enjoying this one in French class, but it's definitely not his best. In terms of, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's definitely better than Far From Mad and Crowd, but yeah. Amastaragon is another one that I read in grade 8 French class. I thought it was fun. I had a blast. We're gonna put it below King Lear. The next one is it Cyrano de Bergerac? I think it's Cyrano de Bergerac by Edmond Rostand. We also read this for French class. Yeah, we read for French class. And we watched the movie. Yeah, it was good. I'm gonna put it above Most Arrogant. Les Belles Sœurs by Michel Tremblay. I feel like this is a very Canadian experience. I don't know if people outside of Canada know of Michel Tremblay. He's a very famous Québécois playwright, and Les Belles Sœurs is written purely in this specific Quebec dialect called Joual, where they just like cut up the words. Like if you it was really fun reading this actually, and highly recommend if you're a francophone, if you're a French speaker and you do want to explore books from outside of your country, your region. Highly recommend Les Belles Sœurs by Michel Tremblay. I'm going to put it above 12th Night, below Vive. The next one is Gargantua and Pantagruel by François Rabelais. C'est ça? Je pense. Okay. I don't remember much of this except there's one that's really big and the other ones are like really tiny. It was interesting to read. I like the metaphors in this and sort of the similes, and sort of had to read between the lines. However, I don't remember much of it, so I'm going to put it in the C tier at the top. The next one is Le Dernier Jour d'un Condamné by Victor Hugo. I thought this was, we didn't read the whole thing, I don't think, but I thought some parts were very interesting. I'm gonna put it above Musso. The next one is Le Petit Prince, and Le Petit Prince is one of my favorite books of all time, so obviously it's gonna go in S tier. Doy. The next one is just Les Contes de Charles Perrault. We read a couple for like French class and French lit and stuff to sort of see the differences and similarities and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. I think out of all the books on the A tier, I enjoyed that the most. And the next one is L'Armée Furieuse by Fred Varga. I did not like this one. Romeo and Juliet was better. This was a mystery book. They're called like Policier. And it was not easy to read. Like French is my third language, and I actually found the English edition of this, and I read it side by side. It was not easy to read. Like it just, c'était pas bon. C'était pas bon. Nah. The last book is also Guillaume Musso, which is surprising. La Jeune Fille et la Nuit. I think this is his best book, not gonna lie, that I've read so far. I'm gonna put it in the A tier. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Merci pour écouter. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I know I said I would switch to French, but I didn't. It's a little bit harder to gather my thoughts in French without like writing it down, like on the spot. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've gotten some ideas of your next reads, and do let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've read any of these, if you read none of these, what your English curriculum and French curriculum looked like in terms of reading. And I will see you in the next one. Happy reading!